Okay, the rate at which people enter the Naples Zoo on a given day is modeled by the function E. The rate at which people leave the zoo is modeled by function L. Both E and L are measured by people per hour, and time is measured in hours after 8 a.m. These functions are valid for 0 to 12, the hours during which the zoo is open. At the time t equals 0, there are no people in the zoo. How many people have entered the zoo by 12 p.m.? Easy. So how many people have entered the zoo by 12 p.m.? Just entered. Okay, they're not talking about how many people are in the zoo, just how many people have entered. How many people have entered the zoo by 12 p.m., so that is 0 to 4, integral from 0 to 4 of e of t dt, so about 203. Okay, 20% of those people leaving the zoo will receive a special discount ticket for a return trip to the zoo. How many people have received a discount ticket by 5 p.m., which is t equals 9? Easy. Okay, just look at how many people have left. Okay, so we were on this zoo problem. I don't think we finished it. All right, the first part just says how many people have entered the zoo by 12 p.m., which is t equals 4. So what you want to do is just integrate. So the answer is 203. The second part we started, I don't think we finished. 20% of the people who leave the zoo get a special discount for a return trip to the zoo. How many people have received a discount by 5 p.m., which is t equals 9? So you have to figure out how many people have left the zoo by t equals 9. And then take that number and multiply by 20%. Okay, so if you have not finished that, go ahead and finish that. Let me know when you're done. So 20% times 0 to 9 of people who are leaving. Say that again? Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's people leaving. All right, so the answer is about 79. Good? Okay, next. Let n of t equal to the integral from 0 to t of e of x minus L of x. Okay, what does this integral mean? Yeah, the amount of people in the zoo at any given time, right? So enter minus people leaving, so that is how many people are in the zoo at any given time. Find the value of n of 10 and explain the meaning of n of 10 in the context of this problem. So they want to know if you understand what n means. Okay, and then find the value of n prime of 10 and explain the meaning of n prime of 10. So go ahead and do that. Okay, first of all, n of 10. N of 10. What does n of 10 mean?
The rate at which people are entering the zoo minus the rate at which people leave the zoo.
Ooh, no. Yes, not the rate. Oh, no. So n of 10 is people what?
Left.
In the zoo.
Leave more than they are.
At 6 p.m. Okay, so the key part is first, people in the zoo, that explains what n is. 6 p.m. explains the 10. Okay, you got to have both. You can't just say people in the zoo. They're going to say not specific enough what time. At 6, you can say 6 p.m. or you can say t equals 10 hours, but you got to tell them an actual time because this is not just n of x. It's n of 10, okay? So be specific. Does it want you to, yes, it does want you to find it. The answer is 273, about 273 people. N prime of 10. What is n prime of 10?
The overall net change.
Yeah. Net.
6 p.m.
Yes. Net change of rate of people per hour, I guess. I don't think my English phrasing is very good. Of people per hour. Whoa. At 6 p.m. That is minus 6.2279 people per hour. What does that mean? Minus 6.2279 people per hour. They're leaving, yeah, at about 6 people per hour at 6 p.m.
That's not bad.
Do I have to put the digits out since it's people?
I'm not quite sure. I think on the test they will say round to the nearest person or something because it doesn't quite make sense that you're doing a digits on the people or decimal on the people. At what time t from 0 to 12 does the model predict that the number of people in the zoo is at a maximum? Justify your answer. Make sure you justify your answer. When is the people maximum? When do you have the most people? Remember, when they say when do they have the most people, they're asking for absolute max. Absolute max means you have to check the beginning and you have to check the end. Okay, the two endpoints just in case. Okay, so let's take a look. I know you're still working on it, but let's just make sure that we are on the right track. You want to figure out when is the people maximum. So you got to find that people equation, which is n of t is equal to integral from 0 to t of e of x minus L of x dx. Okay, you want to find the maximum. That means you need to take the derivative, which is going to be e of x minus, e of t minus L of t, and then you want it to be the maximum, which means you need to find a critical point. So that's when it's 0 or undefined. Once you find those points, you have to find the sign chart. So that's going to give you one of the points. Make sure you also check the beginning and the end, which is 0 and 12. This turns out that that number where it's 0 is 8.134. Okay, so what you want to do is find the sign chart for that, just to see, is this critical point a maximum or is this critical point a minimum? Did you guys all get 8.134? I guess that's a, okay. If you didn't, please make sure you're checking, am I taking derivative of the correct function? Okay, whatever you want to find the maximum of, you take derivative of that function. Sometimes they'll trick you. They will say they want where the rate is maximum. Then you gotta take second derivative. So please be careful on what the question is asking for. Okay, so this is a plus minus, which means it's gonna be increasing and then decreasing. So 8.134 is a relative max, but is it absolute max? We don't know. So we have to check beginning, the relative max, and the end. Okay, now how do you actually check the actual numbers? You have to plug it back into the original function, which is an integral question. So take the integral of that and then figure out what all three numbers are and see which one gives you the maximum number. Okay, n of 0 is 0, obviously. They said there was no people at the zoo at the beginning. 281.117 is for, 281.117 is at 8.134 hours, and then at 12 hours is 260.905. So the biggest one is this one. So to justify your answer, you would say, first you had to say, how did you decide that 8.134 is a relative max? So you say t equals 8.134 is relative max because n prime of x changes from positive to negative. negative at that point. And then you can say you check that all 3 points, the beginning, the end, and the relative max, and then t equals 8.134 is the maximum. So you can say, I think what they usually do on the AP test is they do something like this. N of 0 less than N of 12 less than N of 8.134. Therefore, t equals 8.134 is maximum. So that would be enough justification. Yes?
It's asking for numbers of people, so it's usually to keep those 3 digits, like 2 point something.
I would do it just
Okay.
to be safe. All right, the last one is a little bit tricky because now you're going to tie in Riemann sum into this maximum minimum stuff. So basically it's now trying to bring in all the knowledge you have learned so far about calculus into one problem. Please be careful. Every time they give you a table, just be careful of what they're asking you for. The cows on a small dairy farm in upstate New York are milked in the morning during a 2-hour period. Milk from the cows is pumped into a storage tank, and the volume of milk in the tank at time t is modeled by strictly increasing. Oh, okay, so this is probably a very important part. Strictly increasing twice differentiable function m, where m of t is measured in gallons and t is measured in minutes. At time t, there are 300 gallons of milk. Okay, this is also very important. You need to know what the initial conditions are in a storage tank. Value of m of t are selected times t are given in the table. A, estimate m prime of 70. Indicate the units of measure and explain the, why do I keep writing this wrong? Meaning. Your answer in the context of this problem. M prime of 70. M prime of 70. Okay, so talk to your partner. What does M prime of 70 mean, and how do you find that from a table? First of all, what does M prime of 70 mean? M prime of 70.
The rate at which the milk comes from the cow.
At,
70 minutes.
yes. So the rate that the milk is so the cow is milked, sorry, at 70 minutes. How do you find that? This is the tricky part. Given the information that you have, you just need to find a rock. So this is just m of 90 minus m of 50 over 90 minus 50, which is m prime of 70 approximately. Okay, they will always ask this kind of question. Please be careful. Answer is 43 gallons per minute. Next, use the data to evaluate integral from 0 to 180 of m prime of t dt. What does this integral mean?
The amount of milk from 0 minutes to 20 minutes.
Yeah, the amount of milk from 0 to 120. How are you going to do that? Joseph's like, only I answering all the questions. Let's see if anyone else have some thoughts.
Average amount of gallons of milk in the tank is 0.
It's not quite asking for the average. It's asking for how much has you milked between, right, how much has flowed into the tank, right? You have something in the beginning, so that doesn't count. So basically, you need to remember FTC part 2. This is just m of 120 minus m of 0. The integral of some derivative is just the function itself from the end minus the beginning. So that is going to be 4250 minus 300. So that is 3950 gallons. Are you guys okay? All right, the last one is the tricky one. Use a Wright-Riemann sum with 4 subintervals indicated by the data in the table to approximate 1 over 120 integral from 0 to 120 of m of t dt. All right, what does this mean? The average, right, no, average what? Huh? Yeah, average amount of milk that was milked in 120 minutes, right? So you see how this part and this part looks so similar, but they're actually asking very different things. First of all, inside the integral, this one is a rate. Inside the integral, there is an amount, or sorry, m of t. This one is m prime of t. They are very different integral. Not all integral is asking the same thing. So you have to be careful on what the question looks like to interpret the meaning the correct way. Okay, so you are going to find the total amount of milk that is milked in 120 minutes and then figure out the average, but you are going to use a Wright-Riemann sum. And then you're going to explain, does this overestimate or underestimate? Remember, this is a twice differentiable, strictly increasing function. All right, so first, to find this integral, you just use Riemann sum. So add it all up. But please be careful, this Riemann sum has very different interval gaps. This is 20, this is 30, and this is 40 and 30. So you have to make sure you use the correct interval for each one. So this turns out to be approximately 2722.5 gallons. That is the average value. The question is this an overestimate or underestimate? Overestimate, because they tell you that it is a strictly increasing function. So if you use the right-hand side, it's always going to overestimate. So you would explain that this is an increasing function, therefore, if you use Wright-Riemann sum, it will overestimate.